session upstairs.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're not going to be as charming as Lauren was.
But we'll try.
We'll try our best,
We'll
yes.
try.
So we've just been introduced, but here are our email addresses as well. There. And we'll show this again at the end in case you want. I think all of us have business cards as well, so if you want to reach out to us at the end, feel free to. Here's an agenda for what we're going to be going through today. We have a few housekeeping items as well, but I think we're probably covered there. We'll do a very brief introduction to content marketing, our journey in a nutshell, 5 things you need to know about us to kind of put all this into context, and then the meat and potatoes of this presentation, the 11 lessons that we're going to share with you. So part 1, a few housekeeping items. So are you in the right session? I'm guessing you are because you're here and we've already had it introduced to you. This is going to be an interactive session. Our hope is that we can engage you and get some feedback, get you to be weighing in on some things, sharing some of your perspective as well. During the course of the presentation, if you do have questions, feel free to raise your hand. If we can.
Wrong session?
See,
That's
it
okay.
was helpful.
This is
It was
why we
helpful.
asked.
That's why we do it. Yes. Yeah, we're
That's
educators at heart, so it's like, are you in the right place? Let's make sure. Okay, great. All right, so part 2, a very brief introduction to content marketing. Before I get started with this, let me just ask, is it safe to assume that most of the folks in here are in the marketing area of the organizations? No? Okay.
What else are you in?
I'm in advancement, but we're small school, we wear 12 hats.
For marketing?
Yes, yeah. We're a small school.
I think
We're
a lot of
12
us
hats
probably
too.
can
Yes,
relate
13,
to that.
14, yeah. Okay, so we'll do a very brief introduction of content marketing because that is really the core of what we're here to talk about. It's also known as inbound marketing. How many people here are familiar with content or inbound marketing? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. All right. It is, I think this quote really embodies the spirit of content marketing very well. That's what I wanted to share with you, by David Meerman Scott. You sell more when you stop selling. And content marketing is really about this idea that there's a shift and you're no longer trying to sell who you are. Instead, you're trying to create helpful content for people on the buyer's journey. So people who may be interested in a product that you have or your school, you're creating content that helps them in an objective way make decisions about what they're going to use their money to spend on. Here are some examples of the kind of helpful content that I'm referring to. For example, on the left-hand side, we have some blog posts. On the right-hand side, we have ebooks. We also have infographics right here. You can see by looking at the ebooks that these are kind of, they're branded by Whitby, but they're created in a way that it's helpful for anyone who happens to be looking for a private school. And we've written these in a way that we're not trying to sell who we are, we're simply giving factual information. So by creating all this helpful content, what we do is we end up building a relationship of trust because we create it in a way where it is objective and we're not trying to sell ourselves, that people keep coming back to read more of what we're creating, and that establishes a relationship of trust. And once we establish that relationship of trust, in the end, folks tend to look at us in a way that we're the authority on a given area and end up coming to us anyway. Sarah, do you want to?
And for those of you who raised your hands about knowing inbound marketing, do you guys recognize this graphic? Has anybody seen this graphic before? Maybe a couple? Well, this is what HubSpot uses to kind of break down just what the decision-making journey looks like in a nutshell and what we as marketers are trying to do to nurture people. It starts when somebody's a complete stranger and they're just researching something on the internet, and what we want to do is just using this content that Tim talked about, convert those people to visitors to our website, then eventually convert those people who may be looking for schools into leads, and then turn those into happy customers. And when you have happy customers and you've been that helpful throughout the rest of that journey, you're going to have people who are going to evangelize your brand in the end, which means less work for you when it comes to things like retention and fundraising over time.
Great. So that's pretty much content marketing in a nutshell. This presentation is not about content marketing per se. It's more about our journey switching from outbound marketing to inbound marketing or to content marketing and the things that we learned on that journey. Our journey in a nutshell, Sarah's going to take us through this very convoluted slide of our journey and talk about some of the highlights or points that it almost, when we created this, we were hoping it was going to be like Chutes and Ladders. But the investment in time just didn't make it possible. So here's our version of Chutes and Ladders.
You can see our chutes and
Yeah.
ladders on this side. This is over the past two and a half years of our journey of ever since we kind of familiarized ourselves with inbound marketing, but I will take you very quickly through. So March 2014, Whitby School purchased HubSpot, which is just an all-in-one marketing content platform. Over the first few months that we had it, we were using it mainly just to create different landing pages that were associated with print ads that we were running. So they weren't a part of a bigger interconnected campaign that we were running, we were just using them specifically for an advertisement. Then Tim Schwartz went to Inbound in the fall, which if you guys want an inspirational conference, I mean, this thing is amazing. This year there were 15,000 people at it, incredible speakers. They usually have it starting out to Beyonce, Crazy in Love. You walk into every session with that song playing.
We were hoping to have our sessions start that way as well, because having been inspired there, we were gonna bust in the room and, Crazy in Love, but.
If you guys want it, let us know and we'll work that in. So after going to this conference, Tim and I had a lot of conversations just talking about how amazing Inbound could be for our school and how hard it was gonna be to make this shift. There were a lot of steps involved.
Can I pause right there?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know how many folks here have actually been to the Inbound conference that's here in Boston? One, two, one, okay, great.
What'd you think?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I make this shift to April 2015. It seems like an easy transition, but after about 6 months of vetting out different partners, we really wanted somebody who was going to help us in redefining our marketing strategy as well as redesigning our website, because we saw those as two different things, but we wanted to do them at the same time. We found Media Junction, who actually did not have much experience working with schools. I think they may have worked with one school in the past, but they really knew HubSpot, they really understood inbound marketing, and we actually liked that they had an objective opinion that we could bring the knowledge of our school, meet with them, and really make this transformation happen.
Before we go on the next slide, let me just also say, during this period of time from me attending the Inbound conference in September to this time, not only did part of that get spent vetting different agencies, but part of that was also having lots of conversations with the school's leadership team about the value of inbound marketing, why making that switch from outbound to inbound was so crucial for our future.
And the Board of Trustees.
And the Board of Trustees.
Make
was
sure
as
they
well.
had their buy-in. May of 2015, once we had the go-ahead, we started working on all of our content. So we had a 2-day video shoot on our campus, a whole camera crew, and we still had loads of different video footage we use all over the site. July 2015, we started working on completely rewriting our website, which, if you guys have ever rewritten a website, maybe you understand. We did not take the easy way out. We wanted to completely start from scratch and really think about who we wanted to attract, and we rewrote everything.
Yeah, and you can see in this document, it's a box note. I don't know if any of you use the product Box. It's kind of like Dropbox, but it allows for asynchronous writing. So the three of us were in here often, even in the evenings, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, typing, retyping, editing, and it was a long journey, a lot of work. Yeah.
So that was July 2015. We got this killer coffee machine in our office. Really helped with our productivity. We're very proud of it. August 2015, we hired Josh. Josh and I actually used to work at a magazine in Rhode Island together, and what I loved about bringing Josh on board was that he actually had that editorial perspective. Both of us did not have any experience with private schools beforehand, but we did have experience in terms of publishing and really thinking about how can we bring that knowledge to a school, which we'll talk about later on, but we've really become a publishing powerhouse. August, September, October, more writing for 3 months, among all the other things to launch a website in November 2015. January 2016, we launched one of our favorite features on our website, which is actually hooked with, does anybody use Veracross for their school?
Yeah.
The student information system. We had a fabulous person on the IT team who actually figured out a way to hack the system and get us to pull our profiles in real time from Veracross. And we actually convinced 120 faculty and staff members to take new photos, which was no easy feat as well.
So what was interesting about this experience is not just that they're taking new photos, it's that they're taking new photos in a very bold way. Getting rid of the fake wood background behind that you often see in independent schools, and also asking them to do power poses. And so you kind of see some of them here, but if you look at our page and scroll down and see, there are some amazing power poses, some of them from our faculty.
Yeah. March 2016, we hosted a new family cocktail party, so we invite anybody who we accept to the school to come. And what Tim and I noticed is that as we were having conversations with people at this party, they were starting to use the phrases that we used on our website in our conversations with them, which we really thought, wow, we've done a great job actually targeting these personas and reaching out to them. May 2016, we developed our Montessori and IB infographic, one of the first infographics that we had on our website, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. But this was a really key piece of content for our school.
I do want to pause here for one moment and just say, one of the things that I don't think we introduced at the beginning that you probably should know about us, that's not in our section called 5 Things You Need to Know About Us, is that we are an IB/Montessori school.
August 2016, we launched a whole slew of different automated email workflows where we have people downloading different content on our website, and we have the first 5 to 8 touch points with them automated, where they're always having different feedback in terms of emails coming from our admissions office to them. September 2016, we launched an interactive quiz on our website, where we could actually vet out the right employees for our school with a fun "Are you a rock star or are you a robot?" quiz. Feel free to take it if you want to apply with me. January 2017, which is now, we are so excited by how much our blog has grown over the course of the year. Josh is the one who really oversees this, and how many people do we have now?
It's about 35 different teachers, administrators that have participated in the blog now.
Out of
Writing
it,
of the blog.
yeah, out of a team of 120.
And and I know Josh is going to talk a little bit about this later on. I don't want to steal his win here, but Josh has teachers now coming to him without even having a conversation without prompting, because they're so inspired by seeing what other teachers are doing, and that is a fantastic place for the school to be.
Hire an editor is helpful.
Yeah.
And then this actually just got published yesterday, but we're so thrilled that through all this work with HubSpot and Media Junction, our HubSpot partner, HubSpot actually decided to feature us as one of their case studies on their website, which is really exciting for us because we felt like all of this hard work over a few years is really starting to pay off. And we also are always looking for opportunities to just make more out of the partnerships that we have and leverage those opportunities. So this was a really exciting moment for us. And if you want, do you want to talk about the slide or?
Sure. So we just took a look at some numbers to build this slide. Just November to January, over 3 years, to kind of see what organic search traffic looks like. And you can see, we went live right about here. So we actually experienced a dip in organic search traffic, but then we bounced back, and we bounced back higher than we've ever been. And the numbers that we're looking at right now in this month tells us that our future looks great with organic search traffic.
So this is a helpful thing to keep in mind, because one thing as you're having conversations with people at your school is that this is a long-term strategy. So you cannot, it's hard to tell people that because everybody wants that instant gratitude and those instant results. But this is something that we need to continually tell our staff that this is long-term, this is an investment, and so I feel like this is.
And just to explain for anyone that doesn't really understand what we mean when we say organic search traffic, what we mean by that is someone typing in private school Greenwich CT, we come up not in the pay per click section, but in the organic results, the actual results you get there. And that is, that's the holy grail for any company, any organization, to get ranked on the first page in the first 1, 2, or 3 slots for organic search.
Okay, part 4.
All right, I'll take the clicker.
Go ahead.
Return to my side. I bet you're probably all wondering why 3 people are in the smallest room that they have here. If you look at the app, there's like 7 or 8 people listed. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but it's just us 3, yes. All right, so part 4, 5 things about us that you should know, actually evolved overnight to 6 things, so we just never updated that number. The first thing is, it's important that you guys understand, to set the context, is that we are an underdog in a community chock full of independent private schools in Greenwich, Connecticut, or the surrounding towns as well. And the difference between them and us is many of them have very long histories, they have large endowments, and they have wait lists across the board. And historically, we've never had that. So that makes us really the underdog in this community, which means we're constantly having to look at what we do and reevaluate and reassess and try to be the best that we can be. The second thing you need to know about us is that we really embrace the idea of continuous improvement. It's really at the core of what we do. This photo is a photo of construction that we just completed 2 months ago of a makerspace in our library. And it was kind of messy and disorganized looking, and we actually like it that way. And what's great about this makerspace is that, not that, you know, a lot of schools these days are creating makerspaces, so that's not really that unique. What's unique about this is really our thinking about where we're gonna go with this, the thinking that drives the use of this space. And I'm happy to share my thoughts and our experience with that if any of you wanna engage me after this presentation. The third thing you wanna know about us is that we have a really supportive head, and that's key. That's absolutely key for doing things, especially risky things like our journey down, switching over to inbound marketing. This is our head on the right-hand side. He's from Northern Ireland, and often you'll see, this is St.
Patrick's Day.
St.
You always,
Patrick's Day, yeah, the common
it was
verse
all
like
out,
that, yeah.
all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. The next thing you need to know about us is that we truly are, and I know a lot of schools have, all schools have missions, all organizations have missions, but we truly are a mission-driven school. And what I mean when I say that is that we interact with the mission across the entire school on a daily basis. In interactions with students, in interactions with parents, in the content that we're creating, in the curriculum that we have, you see the mission woven into everything. And we always refer back to the mission. The next thing Sarah's gonna briefly
Yep.
describe.
We truly value collaboration, which can be very messy, but we acknowledge that and we appreciate that process. So this picture is just one example of how we as a team have collaborated. This is our old office design. We had 6 people in a very, very tight space.
How about the size of
This
this
kinda,
room? Maybe a little
no,
smaller.
smaller.
Smaller this room? Okay.
Filled with cubicles, and we're just thinking, this is not us. So after, gosh, a year of
Yeah.
different plans, and then redoing that plan, and when we thought we were done, we came up with another plan. And it was frustrating, but now if you go to the next slide, this is our new space, and we love it. We feel like it's so fresh, like we're bouncing so many great ideas off of each other. And it's just one concrete example of how collaboration has come alive at our school. That it's a long process, but we really value that process and the journey of undergoing all those different changes to get a better outcome.
And I just want to say, when Sarah said before that collaboration is messy, she didn't necessarily mean in the physical realm, she meant emotionally.
Both.
And that's the challenge
pretty
of
messy,
collaboration,
right?
yes. It's also very physically very messy, but the tough part about that collaboration is that, you know, we had conflicting ideas, and it's very hard to, when you come together with the people that you work all day with in one small space, and really come to the best idea. And that collaborative process, which we very much value, it would be, involves putting ideas out there and leaving them out there which makes you very vulnerable without kind of pulling them back and letting the conversations continue with your ideas still sitting out there. And then in the end, taking the best pieces of each one of those and kind of putting them together. And that is very hard to do emotionally.
So who works in this space?
Great question. The 3 of us are in here, and then there are 3 other folks as well. So it's a combination of marketing, communications, and IT. We're all
So
in
Tim
this
is
space.
actually the head. He's the director of innovation, but oversees the IT team, and then we're the team of 2 for marketing and communications.
Yeah. And there's a lot of synergies between us, which is why it's a natural fit for us to be in the same space. All right, the last thing you need to know about us is that we really value blue sky thinking, and because we have a supportive head, we can take ideas and we can go and we can pursue them, and that's a great place for us to be. There is one other thing. I think there's actually, I said 5, we ended up with 6. I'm actually gonna throw a 7th one there right now that I'm just gonna tell you on the fly. The 7th thing you really need to know about us, and this may be very blasphemous for this group, is that marketing doesn't report to the director of institutional advancement in our organization. They report directly to the head, and I think that frees up the marketing team to do a whole lot more for the organization.
Does anybody else have a similar?
An org
Yeah.
like that? Oh, okay, so that's not
And then
uncommon.
who has it within the advancement office? Or does marketing, advancement, everything all in one? Do you want us
Alright.
to come talk to your head of school, maybe? Yeah.
All right, so now I think we're ready to get into the meat and potatoes of our presentation, our 11 lessons. In my head right now, I'm hearing Beyonce one more time. So, yeah. All right, so here we go with the 11 lessons. We're gonna rotate. We have 11 here. Some of us are gonna present different ones. So the first one is know your school's value proposition. You know, what about your school makes it a better choice than the competition? What about your school, you know, what is your school's unique feature that helps you appeal to the personas that you're targeting? What's your school's competitive advantage? You really need to understand this, because understanding this allows you to create content that appeals to the people that want to come to your school. Some of you may say that, some of you may feel like you have one example of this. If I pause here for a moment and say, if I were to ask you right now, what is your school's value proposition? Who would say rigor? Yes, well, I think most schools would like to say that rigor is one of their value propositions. And that's certainly applicable. There are definitely other things that you could look at and say are value propositions for your school. Some of you may even have more than one value proposition. Some of you may have 4 value propositions. Some of you may have even more than 4 value propositions. Some of you may have 10 value propositions that you have to work with. Okay, here's an example of a page from our website that we created that we never had on our previous website before we redesigned it, called The Whitby Difference. This helps us highlight the school's value propositions in a very playful way that we've gotten a lot of great feedback from our prospective parents about. So parents that go here first, and we certainly make every effort to direct them to this page, really understand what we're about. And this is, unfortunately, the page keeps going down past your child in the driver's seat of their education. Many more are listed. I just couldn't get them all on the slide. So this is just the first few that you see on there. All right, elevator pitch. Here's where I'd like to take a moment and give you an opportunity to engage the person sitting next to you and just see if you, on the fly, can give your school's value proposition to your neighbor. I'll give you a minute to do that. Go ahead and give it a shot. Here, it usually works with our kindergartners. But yeah, you got it? Yeah, all right, great. Yeah. So I hope that was interesting for you. I know it can be painful sometimes to have to talk to neighbors in conferences. Does anyone want to share anything they heard that they found really interesting? No pressure.
Something that you learned about your neighbor?
Yeah, anyone want to share?
Be brave.
Yeah, we do value risk-taking, so I'll make it number 8. That's the 8th thing you need to know about. All right, yeah.
I'll jump in. Sarah was just telling me about her school, where they really focus on personalization, and there's 2 teachers for every grade, and that when they get their progress report, she said it could be up to 10 pages long, where the teachers really understand the strengths of each student and are setting goals, and I think that's really something to talk about. And so,
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
Mary told me about, they actually did an elevator video. So she could tell you more.
Well, we did an elevator pitch video for our trustees. I'm at Louis Shady School. So we had our director of strategic communications and marketing actually get in an elevator with 3 different people. And one, she's wearing a Louis Shady
All right, well, I'm gonna move on. Thank you for those of you that shared, and this is working. No, it's not. Uh-oh.
You may have to keep giving elevator.
Okay,
pitches.
take it away. Good,
Yeah,
all
do you
right.
have a question?
All right, so,
I used to work at a very, very small school that had very few resources, and one of the things that they invested in was the parents had a hard time explaining. It was a Waldorf school, which is kind of fraught with difficulty in explaining who you are and what you are and why you are. They made a minute video. So when people would ask them, they would literally hand them their phone, which is very funny, it's very technologically savvy for a Waldorf school, and say, look at this, and it created a great opportunity for discussion and took the pressure off the parents.
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
That is a great point. I went to a conference last July and I was speaking to a woman about a very similar thing where she did it as a guidebook, a physical book, but I love that idea where the parents are your ambassadors and they're gonna be the ones out and about speaking about your school, so that's really valuable.
So the takeaway for number one is that if you are an administrator at a private school and you can't give your elevator pitch, you can't talk about your school's value proposition on the drop of a hat, then you need to spend a little time, maybe engage with the faculty or the heads of school. Just keep in mind, all content creation comes from understanding this, all good content creation. Okay, we're on to number two, we're moving along. So know your ideal families. Oh, Josh, did you want to say something?
Can you slide? Just
Can I slide back? Oh, slide back, yeah, sure. Okay, I'm off screen. Yeah, all right, so number two is know your ideal families, AKA your personas, is how they're often referred to in the world of content or inbound marketing. So the question is, how do you do this? How do you go about knowing who your ideal families are? This was a fun process for us to figure this out, and I just wanted to set you up a little bit to understand what this looks like. One way you can do this is to start by thinking about all the families who go to your school. They're the good, the bad, and the toxic. Yeah, so we, now how do you figure out who the good ones are? Well, one way that you can do that is by thinking of it in terms of what I like to call the toxicity to advocacy continuum. Think about all your families and where they fall on this continuum. And the key thing about the advocacy part is, you know you have the shared values, so that's a great starting point to begin categorizing your families. You're going to want to focus on the families that are on the advocacy side when you break them up into categories. We love our parents to advocate on our behalf. And from this began the process of categorizing and creating groups in our personas. And now it's the fun part of number two. Let's play Guess Our Target Personas. All right, so first, it's gonna be a quiz here. Letter A, Mr. and Mrs. Worldwide Pants. International family in the U.S. because of spouse's job transfer. Will live in the U.S. for a few years, but eventually move back. Spouse works in finance industry. They come to Whitby because we are an IB school and that is easily transferable back home.
B, Tenzin the International. Local ethnic family that appreciates the international aspect of Whitby. Spouse works or worked in finance industry at one point. They know and appreciate both Montessori and IB. They may or may not be highly engaged in their child's education. They may work for an organization or company that pays for part or all of the tuition.
Or C, Baby Bezos. Local family interested in providing their child a Montessori education, but not familiar or interested in IB. Spouse works in finance industry. They come to Whitby knowing in advance that they will be applying out in PR or PR2 or PR3 in favor of a more prestigious or traditional education. Okay, you guys tell me, which one of these three is our target personas, Van and White? Oh,
Does anybody have any guesses? Or shout it out.
yeah, what do you think, A, B, or C?
B.
B? C? And the answer is? No, it's not. It's B is our target persona. So here is the $1 million question. Why aren't A and C our target personas? Can anyone tell me?
They're not planning to stay.
That's right. So C, they're not planning to stay. So that means we don't really want them at our school. They're not buying into the continuum until 8th grade. Another thing you should know about is that we only go to 8th grade. We don't have a high school. Yeah. And then how about A? I mean, these guys seem great. Why wouldn't we target A?
Well, they're the ones who are trying to move back.
They're going to move back as well, so they're not invested in the continuum. But there's actually another part of A as well that's really interesting to note, is that we get these people regardless, because we're the only IB school around. So we don't have to create content for them, because either way they're gonna come to us. That's why we focus on the B. All right, we're gonna do one more round of guess our target personas. A, non-traditional Tom and Terry, local family that's looking for an alternative to mainstream education. They may or may not be super wealthy, but they make enough to pay tuition at a private school, and they prioritize their child's education. They may or may not be a little quirky. They may or may not have traditional jobs in the finance industry. They want their children to be in an environment that embraces different ways of learning. They find something of value in Whitby. B,
The Toxinators. Local family who wants their child to go to one of our competitors but can't get in them because of emotional, social, or developmental reasons, so they put their kids in Whitby. They may or may not complain about our curricular programs. They may or may not be toxic.
C, Caroline How Convenient Mitchell, local wealthy family that lives in the neighborhood and originally chose to come to Whitby because it's close. They may or may not be interested in our curricular programs and may or may not be engaged in their child's education. Okay, this one's an easy one. You gotta get this one, right? A, that is correct. That's right, non-traditional Tom and Terry. So this is a process that we went through to kind of help us understand what the personas of our school are. And once we established what the personas are, then we could focus on, okay, who are the personas that we actually want to be at the school? And then once we establish that, then the big question, now what do? Now you go forth and create content that targets those personas. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right, number 3, I'm handing this over. Oh, what, swap if you want.
Oh, sure. I'll stand on this side.
Mix it up.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about turning your pain points into opportunities. And what I mean by pain points is, first of all of us have pain points. This is me with my pain point recently. As you can see, I have a little thumb injury. They thought it'd be funny to add this into the presentation. But what is interesting about this, and this is not the same as school pain points, this was a bus accident on the way up on a ski trip. But what was interesting, what happened next is that I got to the resort, Butternut Mountain in Massachusetts, said, oh, she's injured, what can we do? And they could have just said, okay, you gotta go to the hospital, but what they did was, here's a free ski pass. So they actually turned their pain point where they were down a skier for the day, and turned it into an opportunity to market themselves, I think more favorably of them now, and I will come back and I will use this free ski pass, and I'll probably bring a few friends with me. But in all seriousness, pain points for your schools are basically the areas that you know that you may be losing parents in. As we talked about in the persona section, we know that people look at our Montessori preschool and they may have already decided at that point that they want to just stay for that part and move on. And it's really important to know your pain points because yes, we all know our strengths, we all understand our value proposition, or we hope that you guys will learn it. But that's only one part of the puzzle. You also need to understand your challenges and where you really need to progress. Yes, this poor cat in this small door. It's hard. It's a hard life. It's a fat cat, you're right. But what we've realized, and this may seem commonplace, but self-reflection is so key. It's key to anything, but we did so much reflection throughout this process, and we had to be thinking so much about who we are, who we want to be reaching, who we don't want to be, if we want to not be reaching certain personas and actually almost firing customers in a way. That's a lot of reflection for you to be doing. So the nice part is that you can turn your pain points into opportunities. For us, so number 1, as I just mentioned, the Montessori school, and as Tim talked about, we're seen as this great Montessori program. People want to be associated with that. That only goes until grade 2 though, so we know that a lot of people are just going to be looking at that and then apping out after that. The baby Bezos.
Can I pause for 1 second?
Yep.
Just say, I'll make this the 8th or 9th thing that you need to know about us, is that we were the founding member of the American Montessori Society. So our history is Montessori. We became an IB school about 10 years ago, or 11 years ago. So people in the community know us as that long, rich tradition of being Montessori.
Thank you, that's helpful. So what we've actually done now, this is one of the forms, one of the many forms on the website that people can fill out, and we can learn more about them. One of the options we ask them is, why are you considering a Whitby education? And we call out saying, the blend of Montessori and IB, Montessori program, the location's convenient, IB education's transferable. These are all of the personas we just showed you guys. If they click Whitby's Montessori program, our admissions team can make note of this and know that this may be somebody we need to educate a little bit further on how Montessori and IB are actually blending together. So this is one possible exception to firing this persona. This is is actually an opportunity, if we do want to engage all those people who are looking at the Montessori program, we can give them helpful content that before they even enroll in the school, they'll better understand the continuum and they'll be more apt to stay for the whole journey. So this is the infographic that I referenced at the beginning, where we actually illustrated how the Montessori and the IB program are actually working together and building certain characteristics in students. Because we thought, these people probably don't know how these programs are working together, so now we're actually giving them this helpful content along the way.
And what's interesting to note about this is you don't see that we've branded it all over and we're saying would be this, would be that. It's a very generic Montessori International Baccalaureate. The 10th thing you need to know about us, I'm just realizing all these things now, is that we were the first school in the world to combine these two curricular frameworks. There's no other school in the world that took these two and put them together. They do actually complement each other very nicely. We are having some problems, guys.
Another pain point that we have, as we mentioned, we go up to 8th grade, and a lot of parents come to us and say, we want a K-12 school. We want to make sure that our child's gonna get into the best school that will go through high school, and then they can get into a great college. So that's been a battle that we've been fighting for a while now, and we thought, why don't we come up with a guide where we can actually explain and highlight the benefits of being in a nursery through grade 8 education. And some people are still gonna choose a K-12 school, and that's fine, but at least we're getting ahead of the game and we're giving them helpful content to help them make a better informed decision in the end. I wanted to take a quick second. Does anybody wanna share a pain point that they have as a school, and we can brainstorm an opportunity for you? Yeah.
We're I work for St. Sebastian's, and so we're the only Catholic independent school in the league. But, right now, our competition, we have really 3 sets of competition, obviously public school, the local independent schools, and the Catholic schools. So, there's growing concern, sort of, well, what about the Catholic schools? Our tuition's half the cost, what are we offering? Obviously, we can through our value proposition, but how do we get that out there and convince people who are tuition alone, like, we can't afford it.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting challenge to have. And I mean, for one, in terms of going up against public schools, I mean, people in the end, they're gonna make up their minds about which one they can afford and which one they can't. But, I mean, you can put up a guide on your website and say the differences between private and public schools, something that people can actually look at and say, what are the differences and what am I actually looking for? And if you're highlighting, you're gonna get this differentiated, attention that you wouldn't be getting at the public school without bashing them, because you do still, we're all in the same area and we all need to get along to an extent, but I think there are ways to objectively put out that information so people can say, oh, that's interesting, I never saw those two side by side, this is helpful for me to look through and kind of make a more informed decision. I think that's one way to look at it. And then you could also, just put up an infographic of what the tuition pays for, because maybe people just aren't sure where their money's going, or show what the return on investment is that they might be getting after that.
Right. Yeah, I feel actually inspired by your infographic to do side-by-side Catholic and independent.
Yeah.
We're very unique
Yeah,
in
that's
that
perfect.
way,
And again, it's a question that, it's a question that people will have on their minds when they're deciding on a school for their child. It's a huge decision. They're gonna be doing research online. They're gonna Google, what are the differences between a Catholic or independent school? Which one's right for me? So if they find your school, if they're Googling Catholic versus independent school and you have how to choose a Catholic versus independent school guide, that's an opportunity to bring more people to your website and be seen as a thought leader in that area. So, and I'm happy to talk with you guys afterwards about any other brainstorming ideas, but I'll let Tim move on. Okay.
So number 4, define a voice and a writing style. How many of you feel this way when you know you have to rewrite parts or all of your website? Yeah, this is me. Oh my gosh, more writing. So I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I definitely think there is a trend in how writing is changing, copy is changing, both in print as well as online. There's a much more playful tone that we see now than we did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I think that's an interesting trend, and we've definitely embraced this playful trend. You could say that that writing is becoming much more conversational. So those of you that were educated decades ago may feel like, you no longer need to aspire to sound intelligent when you are creating copy on your website, because we've taken it down to a much more playful, conversational. I think that this right here is actually a wonderful example of an indicator of the shift in our culture, what we're embracing in terms of writing. So we developed a strategy. I forgot to remove that out of there. We developed a strategy when we got started that we call PPCS. P is provocative, P is punchy, C is clever, and S is succinct. We created this strategy to help us to inform our writing for the website. Our voice, and what we ended up with, I'm going to show you some examples, different parts of writing from our website that kind of highlight how the writing has changed. So our voice is playful.
Warning, our teacher's passion for learning is contagious.
Engaging.
Need a global perspective, talk to one of our students.
Conversational.
Should we not read all these since we're running a little?
Okay, sure, we can move on, yeah.
We're happy to share these with you.
Yeah, full of personality. I gotta read this one, I love this
Okay.
one. It'll warm your heart, blow your mind, or maybe even both. Either way, you'll need to see this in action to believe it. Joyous. Insightful. Personal. And this right here is a quote from a prospective parent from a few months ago. This parent was talking to someone in our admissions department, and this is what she wrote in an email about the writing on our website. And we feel this was a great quote to share because it definitely it is exactly the impression that we want prospective parents to get when they read the content on our website. All right, number 5. This is both of us, right? So you need to become a publishing powerhouse. And this is where we go back to the picture of the guy thinking about the writing at the desk. I don't know how many of you have seen Alec Baldwin, Glengarry Glen Ross, where he says, always be closing.
BBC.
Yes, the ABC, that's right. Well, I like to say, always be creating content. So what is content? Content are blog posts, ebooks, white papers, infographics, newsletters, podcasts, quizzes, polls, videos, case studies. And here's an example of some of the kind of content that we have on our website. We've got right now 3 ebooks. We have 163 blog posts. We have 1 interactive quiz. We have 2 infographics and 24 videos. So I'm going to pass over to Sarah here.
So why is content so key? Well, content serves 2 purposes, and we've touched upon a little of this throughout. The most important part is that good content drives traffic to your website. And no matter where this traffic is coming from, it doesn't have to be a local family looking for a school. Any traffic is good traffic because Google will see you as a more authoritative source, and you'll start to get bumped up in the rankings. So if somebody's searching for an independent school in, what state are you in? Massachusetts. Independent School, Massachusetts. If you've been giving out all this other helpful content, Google's going to keep bumping you up so that when people are searching that term, they're going to start to see you up there. So any content is good. Sorry, not any content is good. Any content going back to your website is very solid for you. Because this is an example of what happens. Somebody searches something like factors influencing language development. We have a lot of international families, so this may be something that an internationally minded person searches. What they see is this article from Wikischool, 9 factors that influence language learning. They click on that, they get to our website, they're reading this really helpful blog post, and then they see a call to action that's another guide that we have about 6 little-known benefits of language learning. So we're giving out really engaging opportunities for people on our website. And then what's nice is if they click on that, this is an opportunity for us to capture a lead on our website. So we're capturing more information about these people than we ever would have known. We would have just had people coming to the website and leaving. So now, if we capture information, we have an opportunity to have strategic follow-up. And if we see, well, it breaks into 2 parts. Part 2 is content. If we have people who are on that decision-making process to choose a private school, we can use our content to nurture the relationships with our ideal personas. And what I mean by that is having these different emails that go, yeah.
So I have kind of a 2-part question. One is,
So I'm responsible for more of that print side of the house, and in our communications group, I'm working very closely with digital. I know you guys focus primarily on digital, but I'm curious about your integration, about your voice and the look and feel, with all the work that you did on the website. We recently redesigned our admission print materials, and now we're redesigning our website, and I know that's something where, you know, I think everybody's caught in that chicken and egg kind of situation. I'm curious what integration you have, and what was that process that you used. And then second point, I loved what you had to say about voice, and I completely agree in terms of more conversational and fun and witty. One of the discussions we had when we did our admissions pieces, because we also have a lot of international families, was that translation with international families. You know, is that fun, conversational, cool voice that, you know, is that more of an American type thing? And do we have to be a little bit more straightforward and explanatory when we're dealing with folks outside of the US?
That's a great point. So the first question, we use our website as the basis for all of our branding. So if we are doing any print advertising, any of the language we use stems from what we now have on our website. And we've noticed that just following that one simple rule, everything is so much more consistent, and we'll continue to do that moving forward.
And do your print folks are in the same office with you as well, or
You are.
you are
Yep.
that.
A part of this,
that
part of
is-
this journey is really the desire to just stop printing, because you can't quantify it. Whereas content marketing, you
Yeah,
can quantify.
immediately, yeah.
So we still do print, but the amount of printing we do now is just going down and down and down, so.
But yeah, it is in the same voice and spirit of our website. And to your second question, as Tim mentioned in the persona area, and that's a great point about the international families. And I think one thing as we were writing it, that thought probably crossed our mind, but that was the group that we thought we don't need to target them because they're gonna come anyway. So we actually wrote this with more of the kind of American and
so that's
local
nice,
family
yeah.
voice in
Yeah.
mind. But I can see how that's a really good thing to keep in mind as you're thinking
Yeah.
through how you write it, yeah. So back to the content part, this is an opportunity where if we have people locally who actually are looking for schools, we now have their information, so we can be sending them strategic emails over time to kind of nurture them on this decision-making path and get them closer to a more informed decision of whether or not they want to come to the school. Pass it over. This is Josh, this is
Hello,
first
everyone.
section.
Yeah, so partner with your staff, this is very important. So by that I mean involve everyone in the writing content creation process. So you'll think automatically that you'll want to have your teachers involved, curriculum leaders, and school heads. But then also get other people in your school involved that you might not think of, such as your admissions folks, development, and even students. We've had a couple students write blog posts that have been wonderful. But big question, why, right? So first and foremost, we're a two-person marketing team. As Tim just alluded, becoming a publishing powerhouse with 163 blog posts. We're not writing all of those by ourselves. Secondly, we're marketing professionals. Most of you in here are marketing development as well. And as we might know a lot about our school, our teachers, our faculty are gonna know more than us. That's just a given with that. So, as Lorna said in the keynote, find your village people. These are two of my village people here. Assemble your crew. And the next question is, how do we do that? So, get to know your colleagues and let them know you. So when you're trying to ask someone, this is a picture from our holiday party. This is our director of athletics right there on the left, and he won the ugly sweater contest. It came in second. But get to know your colleagues and let them know you. The biggest reason why, if you're trying to ask someone to do something that they're not required to do, they need to want to be able to do that for you. And so one of my first things getting to Whitby was getting to know all the faculty on professional, slightly, even personal basis, just to have them be like, oh yeah, that's Josh in the marketing communications department. And let them know that blog posts have a dual purpose for them. So this is a blog post that was published by our director of advancement on Giving Tuesday. This says, on Giving Tuesday, please don't give to Whitby. We were directing donors to donate to other causes, other nonprofits that could benefit from that on Giving Tuesday. So that's the blog post as it appears on our website. There's text below it. But he was able to use that. He posted it on his LinkedIn to, amongst his colleagues, amongst his peers, and he also posted that on Twitter. So he was able to use that. We benefit because we get content on our website, which drives back to Whitby School. He's able to use that professionally in his realm. And so it's creating a brand, a personal brand for your writers, essentially. Okay. offer different levels of involvement. So I've set this slide up to look like a website where you're getting different levels of packages here. So the basic package that I will do, but try to avoid, is talking to our staff faculty members and kind of, if they say to me, well, I don't have time to write. Okay, well, let's sit down, let me just interview, ask you some questions. And so we'll do a Q&A, published almost verbatim, I'll edit for clarity and accuracy. Also, sometimes I'll do some ghostwriting, where again, I'll sit down with this teacher, this faculty member, get their knowledge, and write the article as them with their byline on it. Pro package, that's usually the one that I really try to target to do. Again, our teachers are going to know more than what I'm trying to write. So this usually happens after an initial meeting with them. We talk about a discussion, and you may or may not have several rounds of editing. For instance, we might get a blog post up. The process might take a week. They write it, I look at it, send it back to them with edits. Other times, we just published a post that took 5 months, so that can happen as well. And premium, if there's someone that's really pumped about this that can go beyond a blog post, where they're like, I want to write a series of posts on a certain subject, so that's awesome. We have about probably 2 of those kind of in the cycle right now that I'm trying to work with. And then also creating complementary media. So we've done a lot of video, we've done a little bit of experimenting with podcasts. So we're always going blog posts first, then beyond that if we can. And so it's to create a culture where, as Tim mentioned before, I got a solicitation from a teacher on Sunday who was like, hey, I was bored today, I didn't have anything to do, so I wrote this post on why confidence and resilience is important for early learning, which is amazing. She did a great job with it, and she just sent it to me out of nowhere on Sunday, which is awesome. And so that goes part to be, get to know them, let them know you aspects. And then be available. There's Tim, he's having a bad day, and that is a pillow with his face on it that we got for him for Christmas once. There's me with the note, yeah, there it is. Timception, right? Anyway, so be available, and by that I mean it's not enough to just be like, okay, so you're gonna write this post for me, just send it to me and we're done. If a teacher or administrator gets stuck, I'm always available in the hallway, email, phone call, whatever. It's not just a cut and dry, okay, once you say yes, all right, I'm out. It's there, if they need a hand holding a little bit, we can do that. All right, and so just to show the variation of who we have participating on the blog right now. So this is Linda, this is the wonderful lady that actually wrote that post about confidence and resilience. She's an early learning teacher. We have an English teacher, NYP coordinator there. There's me, content marketing. We have one of our science teachers in our upper school. There's our director of advancement, and then there's Tim, director of education. So with that, what I try to tell them is, you might think you don't have anything worthy of blogging about, but I challenge you to let me find something that you can write about. I'm sure there is, yes?
Did you put a call out and say, please come to us with ideas, or do you come up with an idea and then go to
It's
the
a little
science
bit of both.
faculty, or-
It's a little bit of both. I mean, what we did probably a month or 2 ago, we had our full staff meeting where Sarah and I went up and did another call to action saying, hey, we're looking for your ideas. And again, you might think you don't have anything to write about, but I'm sure you do. And then it's also thinking to ourselves, if there is a topic we need to cover, who would be good to write about this?
So how do you move your staff from your basic package
Oh,
up
yeah.
a level? I hear all the time from my staff, I'm not a writer.
That's
I'm
fine.
a science teacher, I'm a math teacher, I'm a 5th grade teacher. I will happily tell you what you need to know, but I'm not a writer.
That's a tough one, and it's one of those things where I guess for us, our mission is about risk taking and trying new things. So if I'm telling a staff member, yeah, but our mission is like, hey, we're supposed to be lifelong learners and wanting to try this. If we're trying to embody this in our students, we should be able to do that ourselves. And so that's part of it. And also too, for me, it's just give it a try. Like if you don't think you can do it, I bet you can do it. And if you can't, we'll work together to make this something that is publishable.
And I think what's nice is that you do have ongoing touch points with teachers on a regular basis, so it's almost like Josh is a mentor to them in a way, and that they are slowly, we've had people who came and said, I'm not a comfortable writer, and they are, Alyssa Augustin for one, she's contributed a few blog posts now.
One thing that I do in photography when we get bashful teachers is remind them that our job is to make you look good.
That's exactly
So whether it's
That's a
on the
great point.
page or in the frame, we're not going to stop until you look good.
That's a great
Yeah.
point. Perfect. And so part of my background also, Sarah mentioned I come from magazines. I was a magazine editor in Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island, still do. Being in Connecticut now is wonderful as well. But so that's my background, and I can do that and tell them, hey, look, we're gonna make this good, and we're gonna make you look good. That's just.
So I think we have 5 minutes left.
Oh, really? Okay, let me
we're just
fly
gonna
through
fly
this.
through
Okay.
these.
So it's not enough just to create the content. We want to promote your content. If content is king, then Google is God. Sarah mentioned keywords, search engine optimization. That's one of our students. I love that picture. Use social media. So this is how one of our posts appears on the website. But it's not enough to just write it and people will come. You need to promote it. So there it is on Twitter. There it is on LinkedIn. There it is on Facebook. Share with your internal community. This is a newsletter that goes out to our parent body every week. With news and events, and then on the bottom we also have the post here. This is another newsletter that goes just to our teachers and faculty. This is a lot more fun with the language. That's a picture of extreme ironing this morning, so that's just to give you a taste of how fun that newsletter can be. And repurpose your content. So this is an ebook, and you can't really see it, but this was 16 pages. That's the TOC. I just wanted to show you how long that was, but we also made that into a 2-page downloadable sheet here as well. And another one, this was content offer. This is a blog post on the left here, 6 little known benefits of language learning, which we translated into an ebook after the fact. So it's 1 page here and like 12 pages here, which people can download, and we can try to get email addresses that way. Find ways to get backlinks to your site. So that's a great way to get traffic back to promote your content indirectly, just to get those backlinks. So one easy way to do that is participate in customer vendor testimonials, so any vendors that you're working with. For instance, this is OneLogin, our identity management software. Tim went to a conference and was able to talk to that. They made a video, and we have a backlink that goes to Wiki here, which gets us that link, and then also just helps us in terms of search engine. Okay, good visuals are key. Why? Because they evoke emotion and tell a story. So this is our homepage. This is a video here. These are actual students of our school, Children's House, lower school, and upper school. We have a video, but I don't think we have time to play that.
But if you want to check it out, the Zachary video on our Children's House page.
Yes, that's great.
We're big fans of it.
Okay, and then it's important that your photos and videos represent your value prop. So passionate faculty, international mindedness, inquiry-based learning, rigor, there it is. Whole child, and some quick tips. I'm very happy to talk about some of these after the fact also. Be strategic about what you shoot. Know when to use photo versus video, so there definitely is a different time to use either. Think of visuals as a complement to what you write. At the same time, sometimes the photos can be the central piece of your content. Use the equipment you have. We have a Canon 5D, which is a $3,000 camera. It's wonderful, but that said, everyone has one of these, and the iPhone 7 is what I have. It shoots amazing photos. The Samsungs, I'm sure, are great as well. Don't get intimidated by lack of equipment. And number 9, who's got that?
Number 9.
All right, flying through.
Okay, data-driven decisions. It's time to make them. So when we made this shift from outbound to inbound marketing, a lot of this was based on the fact that we really wanted to, within our strategic plan, we set out to make data-driven decisions so that we could actually track our progress and see if we're making decisions not just based on our, based on no evidence. Interestingly, this is what our assessment cycle looks like at Whitby, where teaching is connected to collecting evidence. We analyze that evidence, give feedback, adjust the teaching accordingly, and it just keeps going around and around. And what I realized is that inbound marketing is the exact same thing. You're able to collect evidence, you can analyze the evidence, you can give feedback to your team, you can make adjustments, and keep going around and around like that. Unfortunately, with outbound marketing, you don't always have the evidence that you need to be able to analyze it, give that feedback to your team, adjust the marketing, so you end up with a we've always done it this way kind of culture. So 4 steps you can take to a data-driven culture. 1, start having conversations about data. Get people to feel a little bit more comfortable about numbers, and don't just take them at face value. And for 1, email engagement. There's probably different patterns that you can start to look at to see why some open rates were higher than others, why some click rates were higher than others, and also figure out as a team which data points do you value more. Do you want more open rates or do you want more click-through rates? And there's no right answer. It depends on what your goal is. Blog engagement, what's more important to you? Getting tons of traffic to your website or actually converting people into leads? This is a really interesting question we're still talking through, but in terms of what's more important to you, getting a huge bucket of inquiries, getting a better inquiry to application ratio, or getting the best application to enrollment ratio. We originally set out with the goal to double our inquiries with this website redesign, but we're actually now shifting because we realized because we're getting so targeted, we'd actually much prefer that we have even less inquiries and that we're converting all of them. So that's actually become our goal. So it's okay to change goals over time. Also, now think about what your ROI is. I hope all of you guys have Google Analytics set up, and if you're running Google AdWords, you can set it up so you can see the conversions that are actually coming in and back off of certain things if they're not working for you. Two, in terms of these conversations, don't just involve leadership, involve everybody, involve your whole team, involve other teams, and keep having these conversations about data. Three, be proactive rather than reactive. I'm sure you all can agree that there's certain times of the year where you have lower website traffic than others. We can anticipate these patterns and we can talk to people about it accordingly. So it's not some surprise to them when they say, why are the numbers down by 10,000? It's no surprise to us. We understand that there's patterns to this. Look at your historic trends. History does repeat itself. And four, be prepared to change course when data tells you it's time. That's the whole thing about data-driven decision-making. When we redid our website, we cut out any website page that wasn't getting more than 1,500 page views in a given year because we thought nobody's gonna miss them that much. And we didn't have anybody complain once we did that. When we had our really popular blog post, 9 Factors That Influence Language Learning, we've had about 6,000 views in terms of organic search so far in less than a year. We see all this high traffic, but not many people are actually clicking on the call to action. Josh and I had a conversation about it, and he said, why don't we switch the call to action to be something more relevant to that content? So based on the data, we made that decision. Also on this one, Tim saw how well that one was performing, and he thought, you know, I can talk a lot about the language learning process, and we ended up writing relevant content based on that data as well. Okay, 10, be realistic about timelines. Am I over time yet, or?
We're over time. When's the next one? 11:30? Do you want us to keep going and be late to the next one, or do you want us to just end here and give you the link to this to this?
We got it set up.
It's just
5 more minutes? Or we'll do 5 more minutes, then we'll cut. All right.
Thank you guys. Okay, be realistic about timelines. Here's a screenshot of within Basecamp, which is the project management software I used with Media Junction to redesign our website. 652 files, 5 tentative launches. I kept telling our head of school we were gonna launch, and I'm like, we're not gonna launch it. It's actually gonna be another month, and he said that's fine. 7 months in total to get to this. Within Basecamp, we had 140 different conversation threads. Some of those had upwards of 60 different comments on them. This is a little screenshot of us when we were writing our upper school page. It took me and Tim, plus some others, 2.5 months and 171 versions of this page to actually get to a page that we agreed on for the upper school page. So it's a lot. And again, we value collaboration, maybe above and beyond to some points, but that's part of the process for us. So year 1, I tried to break down as best as I could how we spent our time. So the 2 biggest pieces for us was creating all that content and website writing. In addition, all that time we spent in choosing the best photo and capturing video, that was a big time spent as well. Choosing a partner to work with. And then in addition to all of that, it's also collaborating with the faculty and staff, creating all these different emails and automations, doing the research, doing presentations to everybody in your school to make sure they bought into it, all the technical troubleshooting, weekly meetings, and so on. And that was just year 1. Year 2, this is now what it looks like. So 75% of our time, I say, is just creating content for our website so we can keep fueling that. And then we're still doing all these other different areas of collaboration and building things out. So again, one more example of why content takes so long. This is that Montessori IB infographic. It took us 4 months to develop. 27 different conversations just online with our website team, let alone on the phone. 9 different versions that came from just drawn on pad and paper to get to the final version. And this is something that our HubSpot account manager said to me when I told him we were going to redesign our website. He said, just be wary, it's going to take 25% longer than you think it's going to take. And that was very helpful to hear, but I'd say add like 50% and just add a lot more time in than you anticipate taking. And it's okay. I think we were very happy to wait a couple extra months to make sure we had the best possible product to put out there. number 11?
I think we'll just skip through these. So number 11 is you need more than just approval. I'm just gonna skip through all these slides here. No, 11.5,
You're not gonna-
just 'cause of time, yeah, I think we should just
Okay.
wrap it up, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
just go to
fine.
the
Yeah, we can go to
download.
the download. So final, our bonus part is don't go it alone in year one, talking a lot about us partnering up with Media Junction. This is us and our small team. This is all of our workload. Oh my gosh. Help us, please. This is, yeah. But once you actually have an experienced web strategy team on your side, we can balance that out a little bit, and they are the experts in this area. And even more on top of that, as Josh talked about, involve your entire community, and you will have something that it'll help with your workflow, but it'll also be more reflective of what your school actually is. We won't quiz you guys on what our 11 lessons were. These are the 11 lessons, and we have a copy of our presentation, whitbyschool.org/11 lessons. You guys can access a copy, and if anybody wants to stay and ask us any questions for a few minutes, we certainly welcome that. But
And
we appreciate
understand
it.
that this was strategic here, giving it to you this way, because this becomes a content offer for you. So that's why we put it up here.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Yep,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
So how much, most of what you focused on was what you did with the website.
Yeah, thanks. So right, we actually just moved our annual report digital for the first time this year. Because in the past, we've done it as a print piece, and we ended up trying to turn it more into a magazine. But this past year, we just had one long interactive page where we scroll over different elements and they appear with different statistics. We have some videos we did at the state of the school meeting and filmed a lot of, Josh filmed a lot of that.
Yeah, that's kind of
Can
hard.
you do all of that
Move
yourself?
away
Okay.
from that model.
You carve it out and let
For the most part, we're doing it ourselves. I mean, there's certain things that you're not doing with that. And again, team building, we don't have time for all this, we do have budgets. So sometimes we dance and we have to say that. Yeah, I ended up doing the annual report, but if it was a print version, we would have said we gotta farm this out version for somebody else. But yeah, with the admissions materials, it's also even though our
We're moving towards digital, but before I got there, was a different website. They got into you guys using that. Some school website and practice really was and there's a philosophical struggle between
Blackbox's not gonna work to give you schools that want to do business. You're gonna have to do it. You're by yourself. You don't wanna buy it. You're just hurting them off.
We had some of the exact same thing at the beginning of the year, actually, in the presentation.
And then anyone that wants access to the portal, which I'm sure you do, Blackbox as well. They have the link on the HubSpot. And that way,
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you didn't do that. Why? That's
It's crazy.